You are listening to the Good Day Wellness Podcast, a podcast dedicated to boosting your mood. I am your host, Melissa Fideli, and I'm here to support you on the way to calming your mind and nourishing all aspects of your life. Together, we can bridge the connection between body and mind and make every day a good day. Hello, Anna. Thank you for joining us on the Good Day Wellness Podcast. I'm so happy to have you on.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I feel so honored to be here.
Oh, of course. I reached out and I was like, oh, I wonder if Anna will get back to me. And you did. You're so lovely. So I'm
Oh,
so excited to have you on.
oh, thank you. Thank you. I was super excited when you reached out because I love everything you do. I love everything you're about. So I think we have so much in common. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be such a great episode.
I am very excited. I feel like I'm about to learn a whole heap of stuff from you as well, because we are talking about burnout today. And that is something that, I think we're all a little bit familiar with that feeling of burnout and that heaviness that comes with it. So I'm really, really excited for this one. But
Yeah.
before we get into all the good stuff, I have to ask, what is one thing you do every day to boost your mood?
Oh gosh, it's so hard to pick one thing. Can I do two?
You too. Go for it.
So for me, one thing I do every single morning without a fail is, I know some people might find this a bit strange, but gratitude is huge for me. And, you know, being a mom with two little kids, I don't always have time to, of course, sit down and write in a gratitude journal. Obviously, that's beautiful. And I do that from time to time, but that's not realistic for me every single day. But I have a rule, and I've had this rule probably for about 5 years now after I first experienced severe burnout. And I do not get out of bed. I don't allow myself to get out of bed until I say 3 things I'm grateful for every single morning.
Yeah.
Even my husband, sometimes he's like, oh my gosh. And I sometimes make him do it as well. But it truly is absolutely life-changing for me. Just even simple things. It could be anything, just having a good night's sleep, or, being able to get up and have my matcha in the sun, or, being grateful for my health. Anything big or small, it's the 3 things that make such a big difference to how the rest of my day plays out. And there is so much research around gratitude as well, which I'm sure you know about, and just the way that it can, really change your whole perspective on life. When we wake up in the morning, our cortisol levels are always at their highest. So anything that we can do to boost a bit of serotonin and dopamine, those feel-good hormones, it's life-changing.
So good. And you know what I love? I love that you haven't made it hard. You said,
No.
I get up in the morning, and even if I just say those things in my head, that's still practicing gratitude. I think sometimes we think to do these mindfulness practices, we need to make them a whole ritual where we get up and we light a candle and we burn some sage, and then we sit down with our brand new journal and we write it all out. But just that simple practice of opening your eyes while you're still in bed and saying those 3 things, that in itself is enough to shift your energy and boost those serotonin levels first thing in the morning, which is great.
100%. Yeah, 100%. The second one, though, which is so important for me and something that really has changed my life over the years, is simply walking. I walk every single day. Most days I walk the kids to and from school. I make them walk as well up this big hill. But I also try and incorporate walking by myself, which is so important. I'll either do it super early in the morning, or I'll do it once at night, like in the afternoons, once we've had dinner and Michael, my husband, is getting the kids doing homework or getting them ready for bed. I'll just go for a minimum of like a 30 to 45-minute walk. And I can't even explain to you how that has impacted my life over the years as a mum. And again, there's so much amazing research around walking, and just what it does, not just for our physical health, but also for our emotional and mental health, which is a huge part of burnout as well. releases all those feel-good hormones.
Mm.
It supports, toxins removing from our body, our detoxifying pathways. It's just, it's simple, it's easy, it's free, and it's amazing for our health.
I love that you have said this, and I feel like this happens all the time when I get people on the podcast. I feel like you find people where you're kind of on similar journeys, but over the last few weeks, I have made it a priority to go for a morning walk, and if I have time, an evening walk as well, because my cortisol levels have been really high. So I've stopped doing my high intensity training, and instead I've replaced it with walking. And I have found that after doing that I've only done it for probably maybe 3 weeks now. It's been 3 weeks that I've made an effort to get up in the morning, even if it's 10 minutes to walk around the block.
Yes.
That has changed the way that my whole day pans out.
Yeah.
And because I sit at a computer all day, just that movement in the morning, getting outside, the fresh air, the sunshine, just moving my body in such a gentle way, it's been phenomenal. And so I just, as you said that, I was like, oh my God, this is one of those moments where it's just reassuring, like a good habit. It's so powerful.
It's so powerful. I think people really underestimate the power of just walking. And like, I know a lot of us live in big cities, but and that's fine, walking through the neighborhood and the streets. But even if you can find a little bit of nature where you walk through a park, or by the river or something like that, there are also some amazing studies about being amongst nature and walking in nature as well, which is not just incredible for our emotional health, because green spaces obviously help us release those feel-good hormones. But there are also some incredible studies around the impacts of nature on our physical health as well, and on our gut health. So that is also another benefit. There's an amazing study called the Florist Floor Study, which is, I won't go into it because it's a long one, but it just talks about, they take two different groups, one group which spends their time in a big city and another group which spends their time in a more artificially created nature space. And the difference at the end of the study about their gut microbiome is insane.
Oh my goodness, I need to read this study.
So if you can spend some time, even if it's, I know, not a lot of people live in places amongst nature, but even a park, it's the green spaces that makes a huge difference.
Amazing. Well, I have already noticed in a short period of time that walking, getting out, being around nature, it really helps. And for someone who I have spent my whole life thinking, you need to go to the gym in the morning, you need to be in a class, you need to, and switching my mindset to now being able, let's just go for a walk, go for a nice little stroll. It's been huge. So I love that you have said that. And I hope people listening really take that on board, because the shifts that it can have in your mental and physical health are huge. So amazing. Oh, this episode has already started off so great. So let's get into burnout. Burnout is a term we hear a lot more these days. I definitely hear it a lot more myself. How would you define it in a way that really resonates with a lot of people, so we can kind of all understand what the meaning is and what it means for our body?
Yeah. I mean, look, I think burnout can mean something slightly different for everybody, but at the end of the day, it's our body being, our mind and our body being severely depleted, and really screaming for help. Really, I think that's what it is. And I think I always put down symptoms of burnout as signs that your body is giving you. And unfortunately, the thing is, most people in this modern world get brushed off as, especially moms, these are just normal symptoms of motherhood, which is what we hear a lot of. But we're seeing even younger and younger generations experiencing extreme burnout. And again, this just being brushed off as normal parts of life, which I think is really unfortunate. But at the end of the day, there are so many different symptoms of burnout, whether it be fatigue, whether it be gut issues, whether it be hormonal imbalances for a lot of women, whether it be that, cognitive function that they're really struggling with, like the brain fog, the mood swings, the irritability. All of these are huge signs of burnout. But at the end of the day, they are your body screaming for help. And we really shouldn't be brushing them off, which is unfortunately what I see a lot of people do in this modern world. It's almost just become part of life, which I think we really need to change that narrative as well, and, really start taking the signs, because for me, I experienced burnout and ignored the signs, not only because I was at so much going on as a mum, as a working mum, but also because I actually had a lot of GPs say to me, oh, well, that's just being a mum. So I had a lot of people brushing off my symptoms as well, which was quite frustrating at the time, and ignoring those symptoms, listening to that advice and just powering through I ended up in hospital with extreme burnout. I spent 5 days in hospital with a nasty, nasty virus. And while I was there, I actually saw multiple doctors, had multiple tests done, and not one person could actually tell me what was wrong with me. And it was in that moment that I went, you know what? I'm actually just burnt out. I'm severely burnt out. And this is a huge sign from the universe to say you need to change something, or things are going to get worse. And I actually ended up coming home from the hospital, obviously. And in the coming weeks and months, I actually even went on to develop an autoimmune condition. Which is rheumatoid arthritis. And I think not a lot of people speak about this as well. Sorry if I'm going on a bit of a tangent, but
no, this is great.
It is that, studies show that 80% of autoimmune diseases are in women. And, you could really digest that in so many different ways. But I believe that so much of that comes from the fact that we are not only burnt out, but we ignore the symptoms of burnout, or other people ignore our symptoms of burnout. And then you can only imagine the stress and the toll that puts on our bodies over the years. And there's just so much you can say about that. But 80% of autoimmune conditions are related to women, and autoimmune disease is an immune response. And a lot of that can be affected by burnout and stress.
I feel like in the world that we're living in, being stressed and being busy is glorified so much. Like when your calendar is full, when you're super busy, when you have a lot, it's like, oh yeah, you're killing it. Like that's great. But you're not killing it until you're actually killing yourself,
Exactly.
And I think we do, like you said, there needs to be more awareness around it, and we need to break down that whole idea of being busy is glory. Being busy is the epitome of success, whereas that's where we need to take a step forward with our health and say, well, is it really? Because you're not running at your full potential when you're in that state, right? And I'm sure you can experience that. I mean, look at this career shift that you've had from prior to then addressing your burnout and sharing that message. It's been phenomenal for you. So
life-changing. And the things that I've learned along the way, it's just like slowing down is powerful. It really, really is powerful. And it shifts not only your perspective, but it shifts your health. And health is everything. At the end of the day, I put so much of my success down to my health. I wouldn't be where I am today. And as crazy as it sounds, I am sort of grateful that I experienced burnout, because it forced me to slow down. It forced me to heal. It forced me to shift perspectives. And now I'm in a state where, I have a business, I have children, but I also know what I need to do to keep that successful. And I think that's so important as well. And something that, a lot of, for mums especially, it can be such a foreign thing. But for me, I find that this is such a good example of how I can be so much more successful when I slow down. But I also meditate every single day. And I find that even if I give myself 10 minutes just to meditate, I am just so much more productive after I've given myself that 10 minutes. It's wild. It's honestly, when I don't do it, I get barely anything done on my to-do list. I'm so scattered. I'm constantly getting distracted. I find myself on my phone when I've got like so many important things to do, because I just haven't slowed down my mind enough. And so when I give myself that 10 to 20 minutes, it absolutely changes my whole day and everything I achieve.
And that's the key, right? I think we put so much pressure on ourselves to think that, well, if we're doing something, it needs to be 0 or 100. Like, it
Yeah.
can't be in between. Whereas 10 minutes here, 3 minutes in the morning of saying your gratitude, going for a walk,
Yeah.
meditating, and doing it in the periods of time that you actually have,
Yes.
even that in itself is going to significantly impact your mood, your energy, and the way that you move through your day
100%.
without thinking that you need to give it an hour of your time, and I do think we tell ourselves that as an excuse not to do it. Oh, I've only got 10 minutes. It's not enough
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
But even within those short
Yeah.
moments, it's optimizing that time and doing what you can, especially as a
Yeah.
mum, you know?
100%. And I always say any amount of minutes are better than no minutes.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
really is. Like, when you look at it that way, it's so powerful. Some days even if look, I love to walk and do some Pilates and yoga at home, but sometimes I don't always get it done. But you know what? Every now and then the kids think I'm crazy. While I'm cooking dinner, I will move my body on my kitchen bench. I'll hold onto the kitchen bench. I'll do some Pilates moves. I'll do some squats, because I always remind myself any amount of minutes is better than no minutes. It's either you stay stagnant, you stand there and you think about the little time that you have, or you just do it. You just do it in an imperfect way. And it wasn't until I started taking imperfect action that I really started to notice a huge shift in my health anyway. And that's why I always say it's the power of the little things that goes such a long way.
So good. So, in terms of burnout and I guess some of the symptoms, it doesn't just affect energy. I think when we think of burnout, we think of fatigue.
Yeah.
But, let's talk a little bit about, I guess, the impact it can have on our mood, our digestion, our gut health, and just our overall well-being away from the fatigue.
Yeah, definitely. Well, for example, even just taking cortisol as an example, cortisol impacts our digestion so much more than what people think. So we tend to find that so many women especially will eat during high levels of cortisol. And then they'll say, "Oh, I mean, eating healthy. I just ate a salad and a healthy meal, but I'm still bloated after every meal." And the thing is, when cortisol is high, it actually counteracts our metabolism. So what will happen is, when we eat food, no matter what food it is, if our cortisol levels are high, our body won't be able to digest our food effectively. So in turn, it actually causes you to, one, store more fat from the food that you eat. And it also affects the way your body digests that food. So it won't actually be able to absorb all the nutrients from the food you digest. So in the end, of course, you're going to be bloated and feeling uncomfortable no matter what you eat, because you've just eaten in such a state of fight or flight that your body has literally switched off its metabolism and the way it digests food. So something that's really powerful that I get a lot of my clients to do is simply, one is making sure that you're sitting down while eating mindfully, and I know a lot of mums are thinking, oh my God, there is no way I could do this. I'm constantly eating on the go. But again, this goes back to, if you give yourself that 5 to 10 minutes to sit down and just eat, you're going to be so much more productive after that anyway. Because mindful eating is a way to, slow down your body, regulate your nervous system. But the other thing that I tell a lot of people to do is do a couple of box breaths just before you eat, because what will happen is this will, reduce cortisol, and it will allow your body to be in a state where your metabolism and your digestion is actually working optimally, and it's not being overtaken by cortisol. So there are so many connections when it comes to burnout and digestion. We can even talk about gut health, for example. Like, when we're stressed, this causes our gut to go into such a state of shock through the vagus pathway. And there's the saying as well where, oh my God, what's the saying? But I'll just describe it. So, you know, when you're feeling anxious and overwhelmed, you don't feel it in your brain. You feel it in your gut.
Yeah.
And that's the vagus pathway talking to each other. And if you're in a constant state of feeling anxious and stressed, so you're stressing, you know, you're stressed out in your mind, and it's affecting your physical health, this really over time takes a huge toll on your gut health. You know, it causes bad bacteria to multiply. It can also cause and intensify sugar cravings. There's just so much there to unpack between hormones and gut health.
It's so interesting. Like, everything is so connected in the body. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm so fascinated with nutrition, because, you know, I think food is always just looked at as, oh, it's either going to make us gain weight or lose weight. But it's so
Yeah.
much more than that. And not just that, but our hormones and the way in which we eat and how we practice mindfulness, everything really is important and everything really is connected. But
Yeah.
I love that. And just for anyone listening, can you explain box breathing?
Yes.
So if they want to
Sorry,
practice
yeah.
at home?
Yeah, so it's super simple. I teach box breathing through, you breathe in through your nose for 4 seconds, hold in your belly for 4 seconds, and then exhale for 8 seconds.
Okay.
Doing that 4 to 5 times is just so powerful, so
Yeah.
powerful. I think sometimes meditating can be such a foreign concept for a lot of people. And for me, I remember when I first was told to meditate, I was like, oh gosh, I can't do that with kids. But what I simply started on was focusing on my breath. And wow, the shifts I experienced from just giving myself that moment to take 5 deep belly breaths. Box breathing, belly breathing, they're both similar, but usually it would be 4 seconds in, hold for 4 seconds, and exhale for 8. And repeating that as many times as you can will make such a big difference, not only to your mental health, but as I've just said, to your physical health as well, and the way your body digests food.
Yeah, great. Okay, I'll be doing that today when I have my lunch.
Yeah, give it a go. Honestly,
Yeah,
it's so
I will.
powerful.
So good. So I want to talk about, I guess, all the factors that can contribute to burnout. So let's start with lifestyle factors. Are there any ones that may be surprising, that maybe we don't think too much about, that are actually contributing over a long period of time to those feelings of burnout?
Yeah, I think definitely the biggest one would be living in that constant state of fight or flight, that I think so many people don't realize that they're living in, and not taking any moments to just slow down. I think that that's a huge one. We're seeing people that have, you know, that are going days, weeks, months without getting into that parasympathetic state. And being able to get into that parasympathetic state, which is just a state of calm, is so important in order to break that fight or flight state. You know, back in the days, people, you know, being in fight or flight state was really important, but people would only be in that fight or flight state, say, once, twice, maximum, I would say twice a day, if that. You know, during the hunter-gatherer days, the fight or flight state was only, you know, they would only use it when they were hunting, which would maybe even happen once a week. Whereas we are now, as humans, living in that fight or flight state constantly. So you can only imagine why there are so many people just severely burnt out. So I think definitely, you know, people that are constantly on the go and not allowing themselves to slow down at all, I think that is a huge mistake to make in life. And I think you will only ever pay for that over time. So because, and like you said, like glorifying that busyness, you know, we've glorified that busyness. So, you know, we don't give ourselves time to just sit on the couch, you know, or read a book, go for a walk. And I think people just kind of think, well, that's just life, when really, no, that can't be your life, because if you continue that way, your body will pay for it. I think that's definitely a big one. Something I would also say as well, which probably sounds a little bit controversial, is like alcohol. And I think the reason I say that is because I think it's great because I think we're seeing a huge shift in younger people all of a sudden moving
Yeah.
away from alcohol, which has been amazing. But unfortunately, I do see a lot of women, my generation, drinking a lot, not in any not in a capacity that is don't know what.
Considered like an alcoholic, more
Yes,
just binge drinking with
the
friends.
binge
Yes,
drinking.
yeah,
Yeah. So I think we're seeing a lot of that still happening a
for sure.
lot. And I think because I don't drink alcohol, I mean, I think I'm about 2.5 years alcohol free. And I actually get a lot of people say to me, oh, do I need to stop drinking alcohol to be healthy? And I actually say, no, you don't. And I'm a true believer of that because what I tend to say is if having a drink every now and then with your girlfriends or your partner brings you joy and happiness, then that is also healthy. And that's really, really important. But I think there is an extreme to that as well that I'm seeing affect a lot of women and cause a lot of burnout, cause a lot of inflammation in the body. And then even I would personally say causing maybe earlier perimenopause and menopausal symptoms as well.
So interesting. It's really is a bit of a toxin. So, everything you're saying is spot on. And I do think our generation probably does drink more when now you look at the younger generation and it is a lot more trendy not to drink, which is
Yes.
incredible.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it puts a big stress on our body.
Yes.
Like you said, causes a lot of inflammation, and doing that in excess, binge drinking is going to have an impact. Of
Yeah.
course, having a drink every now and then with your friends or your partner, like you said, if that brings you joy, that's fine. But I
Yeah.
do agree with you that it's about moderation.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would actually
Definitely.
love to get your opinion on the impacts of social media and burnout. Do you think there's a correlation there? Because I definitely do, but I'd love to hear your opinion.
Yeah, 100%. I just think that people it's almost like we need that reminder all the time that social media isn't real. And that's why for me as well, I try to, as much as I can, share real and raw moments because that's really important for me. But anytime I'm sharing myself cooking in the kitchen or doing a workout or doing something, it's to inspire you, but it's also to show you the highlight of that day.
Yeah, of course.
It's not showing you how every single day plays out and how I feel or what I do all day. It's inspiring you, but also showing you the highlight. And I think we need to be reminded of that all the time because I think people look from an outside perspective, consume that, and then instantly go into a negative state of mind when it comes to comparison. And I think that's really important. There was one study that found that for every positive thought, we have 14 negative thoughts.
Wow. Yeah.
And I would be, I would honestly be sure in saying that so much of that comes from the fact that we're looking at social media all the time. We're comparing ourselves. We're looking at things that we don't have, but we want to have. They're putting us in a constant state of negativity. Again, spiking cortisol, adding stress to our body, and that would 100% be leading to burnout as well.
Yeah. One of the things I have started doing this year, and it is very hard, but I've made a rule not to go on my phone in the mornings. So,
Yes.
I get up, I'll get ready, I'll go for my walk, I'll come home, I'll have my tea and I'll have my breakfast, and I'm not allowed to go on my phone. And I have found that in itself has been helpful because I've noticed on the mornings where I slip up and I do it, the impact it actually has on my mood and on my cortisol and just in the way that I'm feeling is so significant compared to the days that I don't do it, which is why now I'm thinking, oh God, I need to set some firm boundaries. Although social media is an incredible place to
It
grow
is.
and to connect, I do think we need to protect our own energy and have our down moments as well from having a bit of a break and not allowing it to contribute to burnout. Yeah.
And I think there's just that goes back as well to, that being in the present moment, allowing yourself to be in the present moment as many times of the day as you can,
Yeah.
and allowing your body to go into that parasympathetic state as many times as you can. And being on social media is not going to allow your body to go into that parasympathetic state. I think so many people just don't live in the present moment. And just slowing down and looking around you, being grateful for where you are. Even just like, I know this sounds crazy, but even sometimes what I do is I'll sit on the couch and I'll just take in all my surroundings.
Yeah.
I will take in the kids. I will take in the backyard. I will look at all my plants inside the house and just remind myself that I'm in that present moment. So many people are just not doing that because the moment they get time to themselves is they're jumping on their phone.
Yeah.
It is definitely leading to burnout, which is really unfortunate to see. Something that I do in the mornings as well is, well, at night I put my phone on airplane mode.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I don't actually take my phone off airplane mode until I have just about to get the kids to school, and it's my way of sort of like, the way I look at it is I go, well, this is my way of, I'm not ready for for anybody else yet. I'm not ready for the world. I'm not ready. No one can have my time right now. This is my time. And that's the way I look at it. It's like, well, no, I'm not ready for you. I'm not ready for someone to call me. I'm not ready for social media to see me. This is my time. And looking at it from that perspective has been really powerful for me as well.
Yeah, just little shifts. That's all we need to make is little shifts, and putting one foot in front of the other, making small positive changes. It really leads to big results. So, yeah. I'd love to get your thoughts on also nutrition when it comes to burnout. So, specific nutrient deficiencies or imbalances that actually over time contribute to burnout. Are there any? What would you suggest?
Yeah, definitely. Well, a lot of this actually goes back to what I was saying earlier about when we're living in a constant state of burnout, our body struggles to absorb the nutrients from the food that we eat. And this can really, really contribute to those symptoms of burnout, like fatigue, brain fog, all of those things. And this is why I so always talk about and love the power of food and using food as medicine, because something, I actually did an episode on this where I talked about, if we are eating the right way, we actually don't need to supplement that much. Yes, there are supplements have their place and there are some great ones out there, but at the end of the day, most supplements are a band-aid approach, and a lot of them are synthetic. So our body isn't going to recognize them the way it's going to recognize food. It is always going to absorb so much more nutrients, vitamins, and minerals from food than it is from a supplement anyway. So when you start using food as medicine, you're really going to notice a shift in those burnout symptoms, because a lot of them do come back to some form of a deficiency. But some of the most common ones that we tend to see in women, one of the most common ones would probably be a magnesium deficiency. That is so common in motherhood as well. And that, again, leads to a lot of the symptoms of brain fog, mood swings, irritability, insomnia, trouble sleeping, or fatigue throughout the day. So magnesium is a huge one. Another one, we see a lot of is iron. A lot of women are simply iron deficient, needing iron transfusions, which again is such a band-aid approach to an iron deficiency, and a really, something that I recommend that is so powerful when it comes to an iron deficiency is getting in some more organ meats when you can, which is, and now we have some great brands out there doing them in powdered capsules, which is just so great. And then another huge one is omega-3 fatty acids. This is really, really common in mums especially, because we tend to see as well after pregnancy, a lot of the omega-3 fatty acids have been absorbed by the baby. And then, no one tells you when everyone has an opinion on how to keep your baby alive, but no one tells you what you need to do. So then, the brain fog gets brushed off as mum life, when reality is it's actually most likely an omega-3 deficiency. So just all these little things that get brushed off as burnout symptoms really do lead back to some form of depletion in your body. Vitamin D, though, that's the last one I want to
Mm.
mention. This is a really, really important one. And so many people are deficient in vitamin D. So many, especially in Australia. I don't want to sound controversial, but a lot of this does come back to using a lot of sunscreen, which there's, pros and cons to everything. Obviously, being in a country where our sun is super strong, it is so important that we protect our skin. But then I think having safe sun exposure is also really important in order to absorb vitamin D. A great way to do that is morning sunlight, or even just sun up until 11 a.m. if you can, and having your forearms and your thighs exposed in the sun is a really powerful way to absorb vitamin D. And even sunlight on your face first thing in the morning, in your eyes, a really good way to absorb it. But, we tend to see with vitamin D deficiencies that extreme fatigue is so common. Low immunity is really associated to a vitamin D deficiency. There are so many different symptoms, but you can see, like, it's all these symptoms that get classified as burnout when they're really, like I said in the beginning, it's your body screaming for help. It's your body giving you signs that it's depleted, and you need to just replenish it. And once you start replenishing, all these things will start to, sort themselves out. But unfortunately, a lot of people just don't know.
No, they don't. Well, no one's really told this stuff, and we have to listen to podcasts to uncover it and do our own research. But, that's why I love talking about all these different topics, because there are so many ways to heal and to nourish our body through the things we do every day, like eat and move and get sun. And they're so powerful. There's so much power in all of those forms of therapy. They really are therapy. So it's, a good place to start. I always say, start with the foundation, start with the foundational things, and then work your way up from there. Because you'll notice once you fix your foundations, a lot changes,
oh my God,
a hell of a lot changes. Yeah. So if we're moving into, I guess, a bit of recovery now, or, we've identified the symptoms and we know what it feels like. If someone who is in that full-blown burnout mode, they've identified that they're definitely feeling all of these symptoms, what is the first step that they should take on their journey to feeling better?
I think definitely, obviously, acknowledging it is so powerful. And I think sometimes that can actually be the hardest part, just going, I'm burnt out, I need to do something about it. Honestly, acknowledging it and saying that you need to do something about it is genuinely going to be the hardest part. And once you've done that, I think, for a lot of women, it does come down to asking for help as well. And I think you can't be afraid to ask for help and for support. You are your biggest advocate. No one's going to make that time for you but you. I think a lot of people wait for this perfect time to start taking care of themselves. And at the end of the day, whether you have kids or you don't, there is never going to be the perfect time. So acknowledging that you have to force yourself to find moments in your day to support your needs is going to be really, really important. I think from like a very practical, tangible perspective, I would look at it from two different perspectives. I would look at it from, how can I move my body? And what can I eat? Because I think those two together are going to be really powerful from, just a tangible perspective. So, okay, what am I going to do every single day to move my body? Whether it's a 15-minute walk around the block, whether it's a free YouTube video of yoga or even stretching on the floor, some way to start moving your body. And I think then from a food perspective, I think something that's super powerful is shifting your perspective back to, how can I fit in more of the good stuff? I think people really struggle in the beginning to go, okay, the first thing they think of is, what do I need to stop eating? What do I need to cut out? And that can be really hard. And that's a big mental shift. And I think that is probably one of the worst places to start. Stop focusing on what you shouldn't eat, but start focusing on how you can add in more of the good stuff. Something you know, you'd probably know by now, but I'm extremely against the calorie counting approach, because like we've literally talked about this whole episode, calories in and calories out is just not a way to support your health. Food is so much more than just calories. So when you look at it from a perspective of how can I just add in more of the good stuff, something that I do have practiced every single day is if I get to about 3 o'clock and I feel like I haven't met my fruit and veggie intake, I'll go and make myself a smoothie or a juice just to add in as many fruits and vegetables as I can to make sure I'm getting in all those beautiful vitamins and minerals through whole foods. So I think, you know, focusing on those beautiful whole foods, adding in more of the good stuff, slowly you will start replacing the bad stuff. I don't like to call it that, but your body will start to crave that good stuff so much more because it'll start sending signals to the brain to go, okay, well, you know what? I really felt like that coffee and chocolate bar. I allowed myself to have it, but you know, I still don't feel that great. I still feel hungry. I feel more lethargic now. I feel more grumpy. But then, you know, your body will start to realize, well, instead, I made myself a smoothie to add in more of the good stuff. I had all these beautiful fruits and vegetables and healthy fats in this smoothie. And wow, I feel so energized. I feel good. I'm not bloated. And over time, you will start replacing that other stuff. And that's a much healthier way to look at
it's
it.
Sustainable as well. That is how you create a new pattern in your life. That's how you create sustainability in your eating patterns rather than always looking at, oh, I can't wait to go back to normal. You know, we always think of normal as having all the junk, whereas we don't think of normal as having wholesome food. So I think when you look at it from this way and you're adding in and you're slowly doing it and you're taking your time and you're letting your body kind of make those choices for you, that becomes your new normal. And that is always like, as a nutritionist, that is our goal. You know, it's not a diet. We're not doing this for, you know, a week and then you can go back to normal because you'll lose a bit of weight and you'll feel really good. It's about how can we incorporate so many new foods so that way your new normal is filled with abundance that make you feel great. So I really love that you've spoken about that and said it so beautifully.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I definitely think, you know, it's looking at it from such a tangible perspective as well is so important, because I think it's easy to say, you know, well, you've got to find moments in your day for you and for self-care. And I think a lot of people talk about that, but you know, sometimes we just want to have, when we're first starting our journey, we just want to have a tangible approach to it. Okay, so what am I going to do today to move my body, and what am I going to eat where I can fit in more of the good stuff? Because it's easy for me to say, okay, well, you know, have some more moments of self-care, which we all want, you know, but sometimes it's just not so realistic. It's not so tangible. So I definitely think looking at movement and food is so, so powerful.
Amazing. So how can we structure our daily routines to prevent burnout from creeping back in? Because I know it can be very easy to get caught up in everything else and fall back into old habits. But I mean, what are your biggest tips on structuring your day to day so that way it's burnout free?
Yeah, I think definitely from a nutrition perspective is being a little bit more prepared, and you know, doing a little bit of prep if that means that you've got to do a little bit of Sunday prep. Like I hate batch cooking. I do not batch cook, but I do a little bit of, like, I'll roast some veggies, I'll make some overnight chia puddings for me and the kids, and little things that I know are going to be there in order for me to grab a quick on the go breakfast if I need to, because I think that's really important at the end of the day. Like waking up, eating breakfast and nourishing our body is really going to prevent those symptoms of burnout over time. And I think another thing as well for me, which is so important, is I literally schedule everything in. If it's not scheduled in, I don't do it. And you know, being a mum as well, like I have so many things that I've got to get to in the afternoons, whether it's dancing, tennis practice, swimming. So if I know that I have something on that day, then I will make sure that I get my movement in either in the morning or at lunchtime or after it. Knowing when I'm doing it is really important for me, because I think just winging it as someone that's busy, going, oh, I'll get to it, I can almost guarantee you'll get to 6 o'clock and you'll be like, shit,
Oh, crap.
I didn't.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I think definitely having some form of a schedule, or just knowing a guideline of when you're going to do the things that you need to do for yourself and for your body is really, really important.
Yeah, I love that, because it's right. If you're not scheduling it in and you've got other things going on in your day, it's very easily just going to slide, and it'll be like, oh,
It
I'll do it
will.
tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. But
Yeah.
tomorrow won't come, you have
Yeah.
to really be firm. And I always say, when you're starting a new routine, you need to treat it like it's a job almost, schedule
Because
it
it's
in.
not going to be, no.
Exactly.
So many people say to me, or like, how long did it take till that was like, just part of your everyday life? And reality is it takes a long time. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. In the beginning, you are not going to want to do things. You are going to have to push through and just do it anyway. That's the hard truth. But at the end of the day, it's consistency. It's choosing to show up for yourself every single day. That's what counts, no matter what shape or form that looks like. If you can't get a 45-minute walk in, do a 10-minute walk, because it's the consistency and choosing you every single day. That's what makes the habit stick over time. It's, don't focus on perfection, focus on some form of consistency. And that's how it becomes part of your everyday life.
Absolutely. Could not agree more with that, because, we do, if we want our life to change, first we have to change. We have to change what we're doing, what we're eating, how we're moving through our day. And that just doesn't happen like that. That doesn't happen overnight. That takes time, consistency, patience, and a lot of commitment. But, I think it's making that commitment to yourself that I don't want to feel like this anymore. I want better for myself. And it's deciding that. And once you've decided that, it's hard, but it becomes easier and easier and easier as you continue to show up for yourself. Because, if you say you go and do a workout that you really didn't want to do, but you did it because you knew you had the consistency, you feel amazing. You're so proud of yourself. You're like, yes, I did that. Look at me go. Like, I am on the right path,
Yeah,
So,
I've never heard of anyone saying that they felt crap after a workout. And it's those moments where you actually power through and choose you, even when you really don't want to. That's where the magic lies.
For sure. So, could you give me, someone that's maybe feeling burnt out, they're on their road of recovery, what are your 3 top foods that you would say, can you please incorporate these 3 foods into your routine as much as you can? What would they be?
I have to start with protein.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I know that there's also such a big protein hype happening at the moment, but I'm going to somewhat jump on that bandwagon a little bit, because, and I know some people do criticize it, and I think, that you need to find that right balance. And I think obviously, protein powders and all those things, I think they have their place, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about simple whole food protein. And I think most people, especially women, lack enough of that in their diet. And I think that we just need to focus on it more. It's black or white. At the end of the day, our bodies need protein. Protein is not only the building block of our bodies, but it provides us with energy. It keeps us fuller for longer. It's so important for our muscles, for our cell recovery, for everything. And, I tend to find like a lot of people will get to 3 o'clock and they just don't understand why they're so tired. They don't understand why they're still so hungry. They can't stop snacking. And honestly, 99% of that comes down to the fact that you simply just haven't had enough protein in each of your main meals, or you're snacking without protein. So from like a really black or white perspective, I have to say protein. So, and also having different sources of protein. It doesn't have to always be meat. One of the most powerful ways to absorb protein is to actually pair it with multiple different sources of protein. So if you're having some chicken or fish or steak, make yourself a salad with some legumes and beans in it. Because when you pair the two different proteins, the plant protein and animal protein, it's a really great source of overall protein count. So I think that one's really important. And then I think the second one would definitely be healthy fats. Again, so many women don't have enough healthy fats. And, I know there's that, I hate saying this saying, but fat is not going to make you fat. It actually does the complete opposite. Fat keeps us fuller for longer, and it also speeds up our metabolism and digestion. And then not to mention that almost all of our hormones need fat to function. So things like extra virgin olive oil, avocados, salmon, nuts and seeds, other fatty fish as well, mackerel and all that stuff. It's so important we're including more of that in our diet as women. And then, I'm just, I think definitely, having more plants is really, really important. I think, you would know that we really need to be consuming 30 to 35 different plant foods a week for good gut diversity. But a lot of people get scared by this number, but reality is it's actually so much easier to meet than you think. Herbs and spices count. So make sure you're including those as well. And just, giving yourself the opportunity to eat things that you might not always eat is another one. Something that I get the client, my clients to do in my Busy Mama Reset program is during the Gut Week module, I give them a task to go out and get 2 vegetables and 2 pieces of fruit they either haven't had in a long time or they've never tried at all. Because it's so powerful when you give your gut that diversity, because every piece of fruit and vegetable holds different nutrients, different polyphenols, different vitamins and minerals. So having, a variety of plant foods in our diet, those would definitely be my top 3.
Yeah, amazing. And you know what? They're all foods that we can all have easy access to. Nothing that you've said is like a really unique, crazy superfood that you can only get, and it's really expensive. Everything that you have said is practical, it's easy, it's seasonal as well. And, there are so many different forms, and we can all make an effort to include more of those great foods that are going to make us feel really, really good. So love it. You have been absolutely incredible. I feel like I have taken so much from this episode myself, and I know that people listening are going to love it. So where can they find more of you? I know that you've got your 4-week reset coming up, which supports women who are experiencing burnout. So tell us a little bit about that and where they can find you, because you're amazing.
Oh, thanks so much, Mel. That's so kind of you. So I run a group program which I open the doors to only a couple of times a year. It's a 4-week. It's called the 4-week Busy Mama Reset, and it's not your regular diet or health plan. It's actually a 360 approach to women's health. So each week we go through the 4 pillars of health, which are nutrition, hormones, gut health, and lifestyle. And it really is a way of life, I call it. It's it's the next, don't like to call it a diet, but it's the next diet or health program that you're going to do that you're never going to have to get off or start again, because it teaches you so many life skills about how to, use food as medicine, building a balanced plate, simple but really effective strategies to help rebalance hormones naturally, to support gut health, and even just lifestyle practices that'll make a huge impact on your life. So the doors are currently open for that. So I'm super excited about the next intake. I also teach a very anti-inflammatory approach to food. So I do have a program that people can purchase at any time if they're ever wanting to go down the path of an anti-inflammatory diet, which is so powerful for our health. And I'm a huge advocate of eating in the anti-inflammatory way. So but you can also find me over at Nourish_Us on Instagram. I love chatting with you guys in my DMs. So reach out if you've got any questions. And
Oh, incredible. Well, I will pop all of that in the show notes, so that way everyone can come and find you very easily. But honestly, I'm so, so grateful for your time today. It has been an incredible episode. I'm so excited to share this one. And yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, thanks, Mel. I'm incredibly grateful as well. Thank you for having me. I love everything that you do, everything you're
Oh,
about. And
thank
yeah,
you.
I think we have so much in common. So
Yeah.
hopefully people will take something away today.
Absolutely, they will. Oh, thank you guys so much for listening. That is all for today. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, you have the power to boost your mood. It's all in your daily routines. So go make today a good day. Bye.